Ready?
1 second. Well,
Okay.
maybe more than that.
Okay, no problem. I got a pop-up, that's why I wondered.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
All right, good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. This is the meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission, and we are calling the meeting to order at 9:31 a.m. First on our agenda is introductions. I'm Chris Darcy, Chair of the Commission.
Spencer Emmerich, Commissioner.
Susan Apak, Commissioner.
Zach Hull, Commissioner.
City
Keith
staff.
Bondog wins city staff.
Good morning, Heather Dempke with Public Works.
Good morning, Alan Dan with Public Works Engineering.
Good morning, everyone. We have public comments scheduled. And who is going to lead that?
Chris, I had a conversation with Mr. Hunt yesterday, and he is putting together the last easement documents and copy of the deed in order to have a complete packet for the public hearing. And so because it's going to take a little bit more time, he's shooting for August as a public hearing. So he should be in the next meeting in July to prepare with a complete application to give us more information. So we're moving that to next month.
Okay, great. Thank you for that update, Keith.
You're welcome.
Let's let the record show that Paula Booth has joined the meeting. Let's move on to the approval of the consent agenda, the agenda for today, and the minutes of our May meeting. Is there a motion?
I move to approve them and the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Susan.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And the consent agenda is approved. First on our discussion item agenda is the Public Works Operations Building, and Alan Dannon is with us.
Chris,
oh,
I'm sorry. We also need approval of the minutes from the May 11th meeting.
oh, yes, that was part of the approval of the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Thank you.
We did them both.
Perfect.
Okay, let's turn it over to Alan. Any update on the artists, and let's talk about what we might do to make them feel welcome and have some engagement on the 17th, I think.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. So update from our last time we talked about this. I can't remember, but both artists are now under contract and have begun their efforts, at least in terms of background and material acquisition. They are scheduled to be here in Salem on June 17th. And I believe both are staying kind of through the weekend to spend some time looking around. So the plan for them on the 17th will be to set some space up for them at Public Works Day, along with a project representative, so that we can talk about not only the upcoming project for the building itself, but also their work that will go within it. And that'll be a chance for them to hear from folks in the community and in the department to just help inform their work as they get ready to go into production. That event, I believe, starts at 10:30, correct, Keith? And so they will be there, late morning, probably with some time for lunch, and then we would like to take them to the site just to get a look at the building site itself in the context of the neighborhood, probably right after lunchtime, so in the 1 to 1:30 area. Just for general information, we had our first floor slab pour yesterday, so
oh wow,
foundations are all poured, and about a third of the floor slab is now out there. So you can start to get a real sense of at least the shape of the building. And on the 17th, when the artists show up, the wood structural members, beams and columns will be starting to show up on site. They won't be actually stood up yet, but it'll be a good time to just kind of get a sense of the building and see the construction. So we're looking forward to that. After that, the artist time is pretty much on their own. The other activity that we're undertaking, and I think I'll be sending it out today, is a survey, an online survey to the department itself, with recommendations for where the artist might like to visit, and for items or places or things that they think not only represent Salem, but also the Public Works Department. I think folks are familiar with the artists we selected in their work, but for Claire Burbridge, who's doing the interior artwork, she's especially looking for places, natural places that she can get out to and use for inspiration. So we're including some parks on that list, but also asking folks for other suggestions. And then the exterior sculptor, Brad Rood, he has the ability to incorporate different images into those life-size animal bronze sculptures that he does. And so just looking for all kinds of ideas from department employees about what things they think represent us in the city itself. So that's information that we'll be able to hand over to them when they get here, and hopefully is helpful as they start their work.
That sounds good. I mean, it seems like maybe we could try to organize something later in the afternoon on Friday. I don't have, maybe like a meet and greet over some beer and wine. I mean, I might reach out to a few other people and get some ideas about a location. The last time we did one of these for Blessing Hancock, we did it at the convention center, and the only thing served was water, and it was outdoors, but she was great. And I think she appreciated meeting people, and I know people appreciated meeting her. And certainly the two artists are coming. They're very well known. I have not met either one, but I think it'd be good to make them feel welcome. A downtown gallery could be an option, like Salem on the Edge. I think, but doing something, I think, in the downtown area would kind of make sense. Can we leave it at that for right now? And then if Blessing went to Public Works Day the last time she was in Salem, I was not able to attend. So will the artists have a table where they might have some work samples, or Blessing might have had a laptop with her? She might have had some material samples. Will there be something, will that type of setup be available for them?
Yeah, that's what we're intending, is that they'll have a little bit of table space to bring samples. I spoke with Claire about this in more detail, and she was a little bit worried that, oh, am I supposed to like exhibit my work? And I said, no, that's really not meant to be that formal. It's really just to kind of show people an idea of what you do and what you have in mind. And so I think that worked for her. So I'll have that similar conversation with Mr. Rood. And yeah, I think that's the idea, is to give them that space so that they can just have conversations sort of organically with folks who are at the event. But we'll also have somebody there to answer questions about the project, so they don't get put on the spot that way.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
And we have some boards that kind of show renderings of the project. So hopefully that all fits together really well, and just gives a good chance for conversations we had. They're both really interesting people and fun to talk to. So I think that will go well. And I think any kind of event in the afternoon or evening will be great as well. And I think that, yeah, has the potential to be really, really, really good. Unfortunately, I will be out of town, so I'll be designating another project person to make sure that they all get to where they need to be and get their site tour and all that.
Okay.
All that. So as far as the evening or afternoon event goes, let me know. I've kind of clued them in that that's a possibility, and we'll make sure they get to the right place at the right time.
Perfect. That sounds great. I'm excited. Any questions for Alan?
Can you remind us the time and place of Public Works Day?
Yeah, Riverfront Park on June 17th, so a week from Friday. It starts at 10:30, at least according to the website information I looked at, and I think runs till around 2, although I think the artists will probably clear out before then.
Thank you.
Great. And so we're all invited to show up at 10:30 and meet them. And, you know, I might take a few pictures for social media and, you know, let folks involved. That park is so popular and that event is so popular that, you know, it's kind of all ages are welcome. So it's a good opportunity to invite people to get out. Hope it's good weather.
I just had an email come in from Brad that he's driving in that day, so he may not get there until noon. I'm going to talk to him and see if I can convince him to leave early and get there a little bit earlier. But I'll send an update to the entire group here with any changes to the plan.
Sounds good. Susan.
This isn't in relation to those artworks, but I was just wondering, just for Public Works Day, I know we're going to be talking about the street painting program, and that is part of Public Works. Will you have anything about the upcoming street painting program or the street mural that's going to be happening on July 4th at Public Works Day?
Hello, everyone. This is Heather, Public Works. Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I think others were asking and looking to have some kind of information flyers about the street painting program. We haven't got there just yet. We've started a draft webpage. We're in the process of actually transitioning to a new website next week. And so we have a draft webpage ready to go for when the new website goes live. I was going to talk to our communications staff actually this week and see about at least getting some kind of flyer, some information put together quickly, because I know others are interested in that as well. I too am going to be not going to be here during Public Works Day. So, but I know other staff would be there and can happy to share that information.
We do have a very large poster that I printed with the design. So if you're interested in having that displayed, just let me know. Or if you want us to do anything for that.
Thank you. That would be lovely, I think, to share if you're willing to do that. Appreciate it.
Great idea, Susan, and a really good opportunity, because this is a family-friendly, you know, all ages event. So it's just a good opportunity. All right. Are we okay to move on from the Public Works and Public Works Day? Let's go to guidance of youth.
Chris,
Yes.
I was wondering if we could actually move forward to the Wayne Taysom panels in the Civic Center's first floor customer service center in the interest of Alan's time.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So I think what I can do, if it's all right with you all, is just kind of give you an update on the customer service center project, and then we can talk about the panels as well in that context. So the customer service center, for those who don't know, we're doing a sort of small targeted renovation on the first floor at City Hall to provide a sort of one-stop shop for city business to come in and pay bills, sign up for programs like rec programs, reserve a park, pay fines, anything except business that happens out of the building and safety permit counter. And that space will be on the east side of City Hall, facing north in the old area that used to be the cafe. I don't know if any of you remember that, but that kind of spot that has sort of slowly filled in over the years. So we're going to renovate it, open it up, and make it an obvious place for people to start and come in and do business, whatever business they need to do with us. So we're renovating about 4,000 square feet all told. Most of that is a large lobby area with a front counter with space for, I think it's six customer representatives to help folks. And then there's also meeting space, 3 meeting spaces adjacent that will let people go in and have a more private discussion, or possibly a Teams discussion with staff who might be offsite that they need to help resolve whatever issue they're working on. A little bit of back of house space like break room, office, storage, that kind of thing. And then public restroom for the customers, and restrooms renovation on the backside or back of house side for the staff. So all told, in rough terms, the construction estimate right now is a little over $1 million. So getting to the art side of the equation, that amounts to somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000. I think that would be designated for public art, and our intent would be to just transfer that out of the project to the art fund, because it's probably not enough to kind of go through the process that we were just talking about with the Public Works Operations building.
Mm-hmm.
With regard to the space and incorporating other art like the door panels, it really, the space really doesn't lend itself to that because of the size of those pieces. And really all our walls are either windows or doors to the meeting spaces or the customer counter. But I did want to kind of tell the group that we understand that the needs to display that piece along with a lot of other sort of city art and displays that have kind of accumulated over the years and don't really have a good space to be. And so one of the things that we've been talking about as we talk about the planning effort for how space is going to get used at the Civic Center would be to create some ceremonial space for more formal meetings and things of that nature. And that's a perfect place for pieces like the door panels and others to go into use and be seen by lots of people. So that's further down the road, but I did want to let the group know that it's in the sort of consciousness of the project and the planning effort, and we can certainly keep you up to date as those come together. As far as timing goes, the proposed infrastructure bond that will go to voters in November includes, at least right now, it's still being considered by council, it includes about $39 million for Civic Center renovations. So that would give us, primarily it's for seismic and system upgrades that are needed, like windows, roof, etc., much like with the library project. But it may give us some opportunities to start some of that space reorganization. Obviously, there'll be a big public art component with that. And so we can look and see what opportunities we get by doing that construction to create that ceremonial space and make other space planning changes that make sense with that construction. So if all goes well and the bond passes, that work would get underway pretty quickly, but it'll take a while to get to construction. We're probably looking at construction in more like 25 would probably be kicking off, maybe late 24.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. This is good information to have. The big I still have several questions about the Wayne Taysom work. I'm very curious about how he happened to receive that commission, and the cost was paid for by a family in honor of a son, I think, who died in an early year. But we also don't know whether the panels were designed specifically for that door structure, and whether those wood supports are considered part of the artwork. I know Kimberly Fitzgerald, preservation manager for the city, is, she's very concerned about keeping things intact. So it sounds like the customer service area is well underway, and that sounds good. I just think that we don't want to, as the complexion of this commission changes and people, we lose some institutional memory. I just don't want to lose sight of the Wayne Taysom pieces. I've used my connections. He lived in Corvallis. So I've run through all of my colleagues in the historical community there, and I haven't been able to come up with any additional information. Apparently he does have a daughter who lives in Scio, I think, and she has not responded to outreach from other colleagues in Corvallis, people who went to high school with her. So I don't know, it's just a mystery, but that's good. Thanks a lot for the update.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll, like I said, it's in our consciousness, and but please, as you mentioned, as the commission continues their work, don't hesitate to reach out and ask us for updates. And obviously, these are big projects, and so I'm sure we'll be talking about the details and the public art components of those as they go forward, so that we'll have good opportunities to keep it in mind. Susan had her hand up.
Just wondering, I don't know anything about the panels that you're talking about. Where are they now?
The panels were originally an integral part of the doors leading from the second level of the Civic Center into the City Council chambers. And the structural weight of the doors was such that the doors became hard to actually use. And the doors, they did not meet current code. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Keith. So this is one pair of a set of 2 pairs of doors. What you maybe cannot see in this size of image is that there's actually detail of, it looks like council hearings or court proceedings. Mr. Taysom worked in a very kind of stylized, linear form. He did 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional sculptures. I think they're quite elegant. Anyway, the doors, they became, you had to really work to get out of that space. So they needed to be removed, and they're in storage, maybe on the lower level of the Civic Center, but they're safely stored. I've got some more detailed images I could probably share with you, not at this moment.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I think we might be finished with that unless anyone has any other questions for Alan or Keith or Heather. Okay.
Thanks everybody for reordering for me. Have a great day.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go back to 4B, guidance of youth. I can just set this up and then Keith can talk about the work that's going to happen. Guidance of Youth is the large sculpture that is in Bush Park, close to kind of the rhododendron hillside and the LaFell Street end of the park. There is a large marble or granite base. I guess it's granite, polished granite base. And then a large, pretty almost not quite life-size depiction of a pioneer family. There's been graffiti on the work, and there was some staining from some substance that was not water soluble. So this is not a piece that is part of the city's collection, even though it is cited in a public park. Anyway, the city has a conservator of record, which is ARG in Portland, and they are doing some other work in Salem. We had them take a look at the piece, and they submitted a proposal and a a price tag for doing the work. So Keith, I'm going to here we go. You can see that those drips along the northern side of the piece are, that's one example of the goop that is on the work. And then someone sprayed like a bluish substance, which someone cleared part of it off. But if you look closely on the letters and along the base, there is residue that just would be good to get rid of. There's also some stuff that's on that seal on the back. And there has also been some chipping with, I don't know, you'd need a hammer or something pretty substantial to make those chips, but nonetheless. Anyway, my understanding is that there is a fund for repair of works in parks, and that fund is going to help pay for this restoration or cleaning.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I can provide an update on that. The parks doesn't really have a fund. This is essentially an ad hoc expense for the artwork. I was assigned to inventory any additional pieces of artwork in public parks to see if we can kind of group that together and either develop a maintenance plan or have it approved through the council or the commission. But regarding this work, the parks did fund $9,110 for the work. The work will include anti-graffiti removal, followed by statue and granite base cleaning with a sacrificial anti-graffiti coating. And this work will be starting the week of June 20th. And on the 22nd, I forwarded that email to you, Chris. They are looking for someone from the Art Commission to take a look at the anti-graffiti coating mock-up, which will be ready on the Wednesday, the 22nd. I'm not sure what that is and what that entails, but it definitely wasn't something that the Parks Department can do. I'm working with the Parks Department to secure a water source for the cleaning operations. And so we will get that secured before the 20th.
That sounds good. I'm very appreciative of Parks coming up with the funding. I'm free on the 22nd to go over and look at whatever needs to happen. If anyone else would like to join me, I live pretty close to Bush Park, so it's not a big deal. Well, that's good. It's good. It is just good to take care of this stuff. And I know, I think it's good to do an inventory of any other maintenance needs. Prior to your joining these conversations, Keith, we had someone snapped off the fishing rod of the Tom McCall sculpture. And that we got that. And actually one of the parks people out in the field found the fishing rod and some bushes. So we were able to get that repaired. And, obviously Carol Snyder is with us this morning from the Parks Foundation, but there is, there has just been deterioration of the Echo Earth globe. So we know all about that, but it is good to just stay on top of the stuff and, know what immediate repair is the best solution, so no one sees that, maybe I could break this. So, all right, any questions about guidance of youth? All right, let's go on to Art Hall at the Salem Public Library. And Keith and I were over there on Monday and installing. I wasn't part of the install team. I just came to take some pictures. Oh, here we go. But luckily Keith took some pictures in the morning, and the Oregon Artist Series Foundation has been working to program this new cleaned up space at the library with shows that are companions to the shows at the second floor of the convention center. So the artist this quarter is Diane Beals, who we invited to. She normally is a street photographer. She's been working in Salem. She grew up in Silverton. She's been working on her street photography kind of practice for the last 10 years. She's got a very active social media presence. And for this project, she documented 14 artists with portraits as well as process shots. So at the convention center, there are really striking black and white photograph portraits of Salem artists. At the convention center or at the library, what you're seeing now are artists with work in process. And the intent is that all of the work at the convention center will be fully identified with a bio of the artist, a QR code linking to their websites. But the pieces at the library will only be identified by number. And the challenge for the public will be to figure out what hands or tools relate back to which artist. So there'll be a takeaway about that. Both shows, I think they're beautifully installed. I can say that I'm on the board of the Oregon Artist Series Foundation, but I had nothing to do with the installs and the layout of the interpretive material. I did get an email at 9 o'clock this morning from someone at Allied Video who said, I saw the portraits. I recognized the style of work immediately without even seeing Diane Beals' name, and like, thanks for the project. And I think it will be popular and engaging, and it may move into, there could be a larger photo documentary project across the city. I don't know. But the shows officially both opened yesterday. Convention Center 10 to 5, or whenever there's a special event. The library will be open whenever the library is open. So I can just speak as a board member of Oregon Artist Series Foundation. It is great to be able to have an opportunity to put some changing work up in city facilities that are very well used, and big cross section of different kinds of users. Any questions? Okay.
Looking forward to seeing it. Sounds like it's a beautiful installation.
I will say that the work, Diane did a really, really great job. And, between the library and the convention center, there are now systems for hanging work safely and securely. And that just makes it easier to switch things in and out. But there's a lot of work involved. And so the idea is to have, I think, 4 changing exhibitions a year. The next work will be the work of Nick and Sloy, Dave and Sandra Nichols. And of course, Sandra Nichols passed away this spring. So kind of a bittersweet thing. They've produced all the work for the show is already produced. So
will there be any kind of memorial or anything, acknowledgement about Sandra, maybe at the opening or something?
Yes.
Something like that planned?
Yes. In fact, I have to write the copy for a plaque that will go up next to their portrait today.
She was a treasure, a Salem treasure. They both are, really.
Well, wait till you pick out their process, the process piece at the library. It's a really amazing image. And the portrait of the two of them is really beautiful. So yeah, it's fun. I hope that we, an arts community in Salem, can do more to bring our community together and be collaborative and, collegial. And there is a lot of good energy that is often overshadowed by other bad stuff that takes over all of us.
Well, we have an amazing community of artists here. So it'd be great to shine the light. And it seems like this is sort of a way to do that with these portraits, to kind of start to do that. And hopefully there'll be a lot of publicity and a lot of people will come out and see it.
There's a really good portrait of Zach's mother, Bonnie. And then I'm not going to say anything about her process piece, but it's pretty cool. I don't want to reveal things. You have to go over there and see it all for yourselves. One other thing, because I worked in government, so I'm all about metrics. But if we're trying to figure out how we can actually measure impact, is it through public comment? Is it through social media shares? How are we counting, the person who walks through the hall with her 2 kids and looks and stops? Or I went over to the convention center where there was a big business meeting going on, and those people just walked down the hall. I didn't even look to the side. So we'll figure it out, but that is definitely on my list.
Are there comment books at each location?
No, and there really isn't an opportunity for that. But I'm hoping we can figure out maybe a QR code that there would be a digital thing. Like that might make more sense. But yeah, the Oregon Artist Series isn't meeting again until I think next Thursday. The public event for the convention center show will be the 28th of June, and you will all get a card inviting you to that. So stay tuned. Should be fun. All right, let's move on to the Civic Center 50th anniversary. And Keith or Heather?
Yep, I can provide an update. So the Civic Center 50th anniversary celebration is scheduled for Thursday, August 18th. It's planned to be a warm day. And so we are going to be having, we're going to make use of the atrium in the Civic Center, as well as the downstairs of the library. So there's going to be kind of 2 locations for either performances or artworks and displays. What I have been tasked with, or to coordinate or help, I guess, tease out exactly what we're going to do, is the history, art, photo exhibits at the library. I think Christopher at the library is taking care of that part. But there's an art scavenger hunt, an art tour, coordination, and guided art tours that they have planned, but I'm not sure what the Spac's involvement with that is. And I think Chris has been also involved in some of those meetings as well. Has there been any detailed, I guess, figured out between timing of tours and whatnot?
Not yet.
Okay.
It seems like Spac should be involved in some of the art touring, mainly because we're the content experts. And I'm hoping that maybe part of the subcommittee that helped reinstall the collection at the library could be involved in some of that, because you all are so familiar with the work. We've got a lot of good background on the sculpture in the Peace Plaza, so we should be able to put together some good talking points, and using both contemporary and current and then historical images. I'm not sure who is doing the art scavenger hunt. There is a scavenger hunt. A lot of work is around the Civic Center. So is it an update of the existing tour? And then city graphics people, I think, put together that, laid that out and got it printed. So, but we could certainly, make some suggestions. There's obviously the new work in the library, the birds, the reinstalled birds, the new Betty LeDuc piece, which is all about celebrating diversity and, dealing with social justice issues. So I don't think it would take much work, and I don't believe the next meeting of that 50th anniversary group has yet been scheduled.
I have one scheduled for tomorrow, but I think that is for the internal city staff. But it would be good to see and gauge where Spac is on either hosting specifically the tours or whatnot.
Okay. Well, why don't you just keep me posted?
Okay.
I'm going to hold the date, I did from Christopher at the library, and he seems very helpful. He forwarded me a scan of a program for the Mayor's Invitational show in 1972. He got it from, the font is so tiny that I can't read it, even with a magnifying glass. And because it's just not, the scan is not super high res. Christopher said he got it from Kate at the Library Foundation. Kate's out with COVID, so I haven't followed up with her. And, but I could tell at least there's one artist who is in the collection at the convention center, John J. Cruzen from Eugene. So there have to be a few others. I just couldn't read the thing, sadly. And it's funny for all of you in the design world, it was from 1972, it was printed on 8.5 by 11 paper, then folded vertically. So it was this long, thin piece in super, I don't know, it must have been like 8-point font and orange. A real period piece. Anyway, I've got the thing here, but I haven't closed the loop.
How many pieces are there at the Civic Center that, like, if we had a sort of a docent tour of all of the artworks there, you know, scheduled a couple times during the day, how many pieces are there actually that we could, you know, tour people around and talk about?
Well, there
More
are
than
over,
we could talk about in a day.
right.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry, Paul, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I said there's more than we could talk about in a day. There's a lot.
Yeah. There are over 80 pieces at the library. They're within the Civic Center. The pieces that are in public spaces are primarily the City Council chambers, the mayor and city manager office suite. And then there are pieces that are installed in that atrium area that date from the opening of the building in the 1970s. And then there are smaller, like in the Public Works conference room, there's a suite of works on paper by Lockwood Dennis, but most of the pieces are around the City Council chambers and in the mayor's office, that suite. And then there are works outside, there could be an outdoor sculpture walk tour. Maybe there could be highlights of the library tour, and then the scavenger hunt. That might do it. But again, I'm happy to participate in some way. And maybe maybe if we could form a small working group, to help map out a tour and maybe put together a map. I just want to get on the record that it would be good to prune the azalea, because I kept a note of this by my computer, to prune the azalea adjacent to the Delbert Hodges In a Quiet Meadow sculpture by the entrance to the library, because it's kind of obscured behind a bush.
They did that, Chris. I witnessed it the other
Awesome.
day. Yeah, it's really nice. You see the deer now.
Okay, great. I'll have to go back to the library. Oh, you know why I didn't notice? Because
It was locked.
you let me in a side door.
Yep.
All right, perfect.
I'd be interested, Chris, if you can put me down on the list for because I'd like to learn more about the works there anyway. So it would be a good chance for me to learn, and then maybe I could also contribute and help with the tour.
Put me down too. I would love to work on a tour.
Great.
Well, I will be showing you all the Salem GIS map, which is essentially what you're talking about. All the pieces at the downtown Civic Center, Library, and Convention Center.
Perfect. So that's coming up on the agenda.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Let's go to our next agenda item, which is the Echo Earth Globe. And I want to welcome Carol Snyder, who is on our call and has joined us in person now. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Let's talk about two things. One, Carol's going to talk about fundraising results to date, and also the efforts that the Salem Parks Foundation will have during the World Beat Festival to promote their work and the fundraising going on for the Echo Earth Globe. And she is going to be looking for some volunteers to help be in that booth. So welcome. I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, thank you. We have, we will be at Public Works Day also with the Parks Foundation booth, but the emphasis will be on Eco Earth there too. And we'll be giving out these little squeeze balls of the world. And then our booth at World Beat is entirely devoted to the Eco Earth. It's kind of the Eco Earth booth. And we will be there, and the artist who sort of supervised all of the icon painting, and Mary Heinzman, will be there both the afternoon of Saturday and Sunday, and she's providing us with a lot of kind of pieces in progress. And we will have a setup of the video that was made at the opening of the Eco Earth ball at World Beat in 2003. Plus it shows the building of it. It's a really fun video to watch, and that will be just running on a laptop the whole time in a loop. But we do need a little bit more staffing, if anyone could help us. We could use someone to sit at the booth. We're trying to get 2 people each shift. And so we need someone from 3:30 to 6 o'clock on Saturday, June 25th. And we could use somebody from 2 to 5 on Sunday, June 26th. But you might want to think about that and get in touch with me for that. For our fundraising, we've just done a pretty low-key campaign so far, because we are waiting for the official budget approval from the city before we can really approach businesses or apply for grants. And the local landmark designation will help in applying for grants if that goes through as well. So we have, just from individual donations, we have 35,000 on hand, but we're aiming for 300,000. So we have a ways to go. But I have no doubt that we'll get there. And we will be working, once we do get that official budget on June 27th, then we will go out and work on businesses and grant applications. So that's where we are now.
Great. Any questions for Carol? I think it would be fun. I think, being in these booths at big events can be fun. And I hope that people will look at their schedules. I will look at mine as well. And I was going to ask you a question, Paula, because I know that some of your students have assisted with public events in exchange for getting credit for some of their classwork. So if you think you might have folks who would be interested, I think this could be a fun opportunity for them.
Yes,
Definitely. I can reach out and see if any folks are around.
Okay, great.
yeah, that would be great. We can sign off on that. Yes.
A few of them, a cohort of students worked on a Flip for Art event for the Oregon Artist Series Foundation. And I'll tell you, a very diverse group of students, and they were fabulous. They were really, highly effective. So, another good way to kind of build our community of people around the arts.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. You're welcome to stick with us, but if you need to sign off, thank you for everything that you all are doing. Let's go to the street painting program, and Susan brought that up earlier. It sounds like the got a first hearing. Now it's at a scheduled for a second hearing on Monday. And then Susan raised a question with me over the weekend about whether the language related to community arts had been removed from whatever is moving forward with the city. So if Heather or Keith has an update on that, and then Susan can give us an update on what the plans are for the actual painting around the 4th of July weekend. Who'd like to start?
I can jump in with an update on the code revisions process. As you mentioned, there was a public hearing on May 23rd. And that was for code revisions to the Public Art Code, Chapter 15, as well as the sign code. That did include the addition of a definition for street painting, but it did not include that community art bucket, which we talked about previously. So it's just street paintings at this point. So the hearing went well on the 23rd. I think Susan spoke that evening, which was very nice. There were no concerns or other questions raised. So the next step is a second reading on June 13th. And I don't anticipate that there will be any other concerns raised at this point. I've heard nothing but excitement and support. So that's where we are at on the city side as well. On June 13th, we are moving forward with the program guide that I sent out to you all as a proposed administrative rule. So that notice is provided that same night. So after the 13th, it's my understanding, unless there was some last minute concerns raised, the program should be moving forward.
Great. Any questions for Heather?
Yeah, I guess my question about the community art, and I didn't, the portion that was stricken, and I did read back in the minutes, Heather, and you did explain that it was a legal decision. I hadn't remembered that that's what it was, and that, because the only response I was getting was that it would make it easier for the street painting program to move forward quickly, sort of without that community art chunk. And I just would like to, after we get the street art program well underway and all of that, it'd be great to sort of revisit that whole community art chunk at some point and see how maybe it would be workable. We have a lot of people in my neighborhood in particular that are so excited about the street painting program that they'd love to see other artworks, murals and things like that, community murals and things like that. So maybe there's a way that we could sort of get that moving afterward. I really, really appreciate the speed that this street painting, I mean, I know how things work in government, and that I realized that the street painting program really, although it didn't seem really that fast, it really is fast for the way things work in government. And I really appreciate that. And we had a great meeting just to move on with the, what's going on with our project and the program as a whole. We met with Public Works, with Heather was at that meeting, and a couple of other representatives, and another person from our team, Laura Herman. And we Heather did quickly get us sort of a checklist of what we needed to submit to the city. And I believe that that's all been sent to you, and all of those are taken care of. It was just the contact information and the dates and the image and the map and the list of colors and additives and things like that were necessary. And so the next phase, I guess, is Public Works is going to review all of that and then get back to us. They're also notifying the neighbors directly, whose properties directly abut the the street painting, but as well, we didn't realize that the neighbors that are adjacent to that as well needed to be notified. So there were 12 letters, I guess, that are going to be going out from the city to these neighbors. And I guess if 5 of them out of the 12 object, then we can't move forward, but we're not anticipating anything like that. I guess it was a 40%, we needed 40% disapproving, but it seems like everybody's on board and very excited. And we're also going to be getting a plan for the street closure and the permits and all of that should be coming along relatively soon. Our plans as just getting the workings of how it's going to work for the day, we're still kind of planning that out and getting volunteers and looking at what Portland has done. We've got some information from them about how they've recruited volunteers and the kinds of different chores that will needed to be done during that day. So it's moving forward. Our plan is to start painting on the 2nd and work through the weekend, the holiday weekend, and have a block party on the 4th. And you're all invited to come to Belmont and Cottage and see what we're up to and help paint. And we're very excited and to see it as something that's going to happen pretty easily, actually. So thank you.
Did this group see the final design that Grant Neighbors approved?
I know I did.
No, I don't know if they saw it or not. They would have if they saw it. Me. Do you have it? Do you want to, or I could?
I have it. I need Keith to, let's see, I need Keith to share it apparently. So let me send it to him real quick.
It was the cherry blossoms. All of the designs we had people voting on the designs, including kids going door to door and talking to their friends and neighbors. And we got all 4 designs, got plenty of votes. But, this one got more than the others. Plus it's the way that it's constructed. And the number of colors involved seemed to make the most sense for our first attempt at this.
I just sent that your way, Keith. Hopefully you can pull it up. It's beautiful.
What day?
Yeah, I'm excited.
We see your desktop, Keith.
I'll just pull my contact out. My desktop. Okay, how about that?
There it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be great to get one done and then pique the interest of other neighborhoods and parts of the city and see where we could, recruit another one. I think the flat part of West Salem, that older neighborhood, could be an interesting location. Englewood could be interesting. Some of the neighborhoods back east of Lancaster. I know my mailman lives over there. Yeah, I just think, it should spark some interest. Oh, this is cool.
What day and time again was this?
It's July 4th weekend, so it's starting on the 2nd, the Saturday, and going through to Monday is the 4th. And we're going to have anticipate that we'll be pretty well finished by the 4th and be able to have a block party. Just a little bit about the funding. Miller Paint has agreed to give us 5 gallons of paint and a hefty discount on any supplies and other paint. And we're anticipating that we'll need about 10 gallons of paint. So the Grant Neighborhood Association has agreed and voted on to to supply about $350 maximum to cover any other supplies. And we understand that our funding for the neighborhood associations comes from the city. So it really is that the city is really supporting this as well. So we're really appreciative of that. I know that other communities, I think when Corvallis has done them in the past, there's actually a grant application process where the city actually awards a grant for that, which might be something we think about in the future.
This is a good location for this street painting.
Yeah. And the only restriction, if you see the little white line next to where it says Belmont Street there, is that we need to stay within, I believe it was 10 feet from those. So even if the design goes to the right of that, it's okay. It just needs to not obstruct those stop lines. And there's another one on the other side of Belmont. But there are no crosswalks that we have to worry about there. It's kind of, it's not a pristine surface there, but that doesn't really, matter. It'll work out fine. And I think we're going to have the street cleaner come in.
Good idea.
Beforehand. And also the city has offered, Heather, you had mentioned something that there's a drone, that the city has a drone that we might be able to use to get some photographs of the finished piece from above.
Yeah, we still need to ask about that. That might need to be something that waits a little bit later, but we definitely want to get some aerial shots once it's done, for sure.
Right.
And I inquired about the street sweeping. They have scheduled street sweeping, and so we didn't really calculate a cost to bring them off of the route. And so my understanding was that the neighbors would just be using backpack blowers or some kind of air blowing.
We hadn't really talked about that beyond the fact that it was mentioned that maybe you could get the street sweeper in there. It's not a really dirty, intersection. It does slope a little bit, so that maybe that was helpful with all the rain that kind of,
Okay.
but we can certainly, just use blowers and all. I don't think we need to power wash it.
Okay.
Maybe you should just check to see when your regular sweeper, will be coming through.
Yeah, I will do that. I will check the schedule and see if they can maybe arrange it to make it closer to the paint day. When is it? It's 4th of July weekend, you said?
Yes, so we'll be starting on the 2nd. So that's
Okay.
probably when we would want it to be done, either, maybe the day before.
Okay, I'll see what their schedule is like and if they can adjust.
Right.
Well, very exciting. Thank you for the updates.
Mhm.
Are we ready to move on to the drummer?
Yes.
Where are we with the drummer?
So I've been in contact with Lee Immonen and the convention center, and on Wednesday, June 15th at 11 a.m. Either Heather and I or either one of us will meet with Lee to take a look at the Hess sculpture to see what kind of solutions he has regarding the reinstallation of it, if anything needs to be done with the base, and kind of get a quote for the work to be done.
Okay, and we have quotes and suggestions from a couple of other folks as well. So there was one for an internal rod. There was one with an external support. There, for people who may not remember, this piece was originally commissioned to be floating atop a reflecting pond. It was actually installed in a reflecting pond outside the Civic Center. This would be interesting to be part of an outdoor sculpture tour, the image of the original location. And so I guess someone else, maybe it was Zach at an earlier meeting, suggested that we also consider a base that would be reflective of the original siting that was atop a pond. But anyway, I'm glad that I'm glad you reached out to Lee Immonen. He certainly is a solid sculptor and, a good guy to get another quote from. Questions from folks? He did the large sculpture that is in the courtyard behind the State Lands Building on Summer Street, FYI. And he's a Willamette grad.
He was a student of Robert's and
Yeah.
considered Robert a mentor. And it was actually his suggestion to consider like a polished steel, base that would be reflective. And in that sense, like actually reflective. And in that sense, also echo the original installation, which I thought was interesting. So I'm glad that you were able to make contact with him.
Yeah, thanks for those comments, Zach. All right, sounds good. And we might try to get a good high-res image of that historic photograph of the piece on in that reflecting pool, as we think about, we're 60 plus days out from a tour. I don't know who had that image originally, whether Heather found it or I know I didn't.
Yeah, I have that somewhere in my files. I'll look that up again. I think it might have been from the donor. It was in a memo, I think. There was a couple images, one that had been placed in the Statesman at the time, and then another one. So I can pull those out, see if we can get better copies.
Yeah, it's kind of fun for people to see. It was news to me. Okay, let's move on to the GIS mapping. When you're ready, Keith.
Yes, will do. This is not out for public consumption yet because it's still internal. Excuse my puppy dogs. But anyway, we have the Salem Public Art Collection online now, and it's GIS based, which is Geographic Information System. And so what this is called a story map. And all you do is scroll down. We have information on the downtown art, civic center art, library art, and convention center art. The geographic part is really fun because you just look on a map, and this is really the power of GIS, where you can see all the different sites and pieces of work at the click of a mouse. So these are all the pieces of artwork that are located downtown. If you scroll down and you just keep scrolling your mouse, it will automatically play for you, as well as provide you some descriptions on the left-hand side. So after the downtown, it brings you automatic to the Civic Center. These are the ones located on the Mirror Pond. And so I believe this may have been where the drummer was. I'm not too positive.
No, it was closer to the building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was not down. It was not down on that pond level. It was in a pond that was actually square rectangular.
Right below the chambers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. This is what the fountain looked like when it worked. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a great image, actually.
Mm-hmm. Here are the external. So library is interesting. So they broke it down: first floor, second floor, third floor. This is what we're talking about.
Yes.
I've learned so much just looking at this this GIS piece. It's beautiful.
Well, this is real. This is great.
Yeah.
So, and Heather, I got an email about the fact that the city is doing a new website. Will this, if I'm a user and I go to the city website and I pull up Salem Public Art Commission, will this map be, will this system be an option for me there?
Yes, it will. So we had two different features previously. Currently, there was an online catalog, and then we had a story map that was created several years back, but we just went through and did an update with folks. And so this newer version is, it feels much more interactive than our last one.
Yep.
And then we didn't have a lot of the newer pieces in there or narratives about our new pieces. So we just went through and we made sure that all of the locations in the library were updated. All of the others were updated as well. And we sent new images, new narratives, basically from our labels and news stories onto GIS staff. So they've kind of retooled this GIS story map. They're still finishing up the final pieces, but that will be on our new website as well. I think next, once they get this finished, we're planning to do an update of the simple catalog as well, so that people can just scroll through and look at image by type. So hoping to have both of those soon. Yeah.
Well, that's
And,
great.
Yeah, here's a catalog that you were talking about, Heather.
Right.
You have different paintings, photographs, sculptures. So it's real powerful.
Good, great to have it all updated. All right, any questions? Comments? Susan?
Oh, I thought I froze. Just wondering how best to, once this is up and running, how best to publicize to people that this is happening. You know, I know that there are a lot of social media sites for arts, you know, in Salem. Does the Arts Commission, do we have a social media presence? Should there be something that people could follow? And maybe those are two different questions, but.
There is no designated social media for Spac. The city has multiple social media channels which serve all of the different public services that the city provides.
Yeah, we can definitely jump in more than we have in the past, though, and share more information via our social media channels than we have. And we've tried to do a number of news stories. We have a number that we should do coming up shortly for the new artwork at the Public Works Building, for the Eco Earth. Again, we'd mentioned doing that. So there's a lot of opportunity there for sure to publicize and promote everything that we're doing a bit more.
I just wonder whether something that's arts specific, you know, that people can follow that would include this. I don't know where, you know, rather than city. I mean, I know a lot of people do follow what's going on in the city, but that's a big bucket. Whereas this is, you know, might appeal to a certain segment of, you know, people in Salem that really would want to follow it. Is it something that would be considered to have a you know, a Spac social media presence, or is that not something that, I mean, I know Neighborhood Services has their own, and, you know, other city entities do have their own social media sites. Is that something to consider, or is that not something that would be appropriate?
I can share just from the communications team standpoint from the city. I know we used to have a lot more different social media channels for different groups across the city. And there's been a real push over the last few years to try to consolidate that a bit so that there's kind of less, I guess, subsets, try to make one more comprehensive voice from the city with you know, consistent messaging, consistent look, consistent feel. So there's been a push to try to consolidate those channels. So I think it could be something that we could ask about down the road, but I'm not sure folks would be too excited to start yet a new channel separately.
I do think, I mean, I agree it would be ideal to have a separate, you know, a focused channel. I'm not sure if there's capacity. I can appreciate the city wanting to have a consistent look and feel and message. And I've noticed that. I mean, I think it's a stronger presence now. But I do think if we could figure out who are the other stars in the constellation of contemporary art within the, you know, Salem and environs, so Oregon Artists Series Foundation, Salem Art Association, Salem on the Edge Gallery, Halley Ford, the artists at the Willamette Heritage Center, and then figure out, are we all supporting each other's work? Because when you look at it from that sort of aggregated position, there is a lot of activity. The Salem First Friday Art Walk, stuff like that. And I do think it would be good to kind of like look at where some of the critical mass is. I mean, Oregon Artist Series Foundation, I run that feed. I post a lot. There are not very many followers.
Mhm.
So, who does have the most, and how do we leverage support for one to get more for the other? I think it's a good thing to keep talking about.
Mhm.
But I do think that the rollout of this new public service in terms of public art information, this could be a Salem Reporter story. This could be a cultural tourism story. This is a family scavenger hunt story. So I think when you're ready, when the site goes and all the bugs are worked out, we should talk about, all right, how do we engage moms and families who are looking for activities for their kids, and people who are out, walking for health, to make a loop to look at public sculpture and, stuff like that.
Just
Zach.
as a reference point on that, I've been spending time in Lincoln City recently, and they have a city-sponsored promotional activity that involves these glass floats,
Mhm.
and they place them around, and they release them at certain times, and it is unbelievably popular. There are
Mhm.
people out there scouring the beach looking for these things. They're in the parks that abut the beach. They're kids, collector. I mean, this is a huge thing. I'm surprised at how. So, just as something to look at as an example program, how do they market that? It's obviously a kind of public-private partnership thing, where there's some public city funding that's intertwined with businesses that are producing these objects, and then the placing of those objects in public spaces to be found. And so it's bringing artwork. And then if you find one of these things, part of their promotional system is that you can then register it. It has a number on it, and you register it, and then you get sent in the mail a little certificate from the artist saying who made it and when and what it's called. So it's kind of there's several stages of it. And it's sort of some parts of some elements of it. They make little teardrop things, which are GIS, that kind of geocache system.
Oh,
They have fuller, bigger ones that are not, they don't tell anything about them. You have to go find them. But anyway, there are these weekends over there where there's just people out looking for these things. It's an extremely effective program. So not that you would want to duplicate that program for the city of Salem, but just as that kind of, the elements of that program are very successful. Somehow they're marketing it to people. People really do want that activity. They like the idea of getting something pretty that is art, even if it's small. So there might be something to look at there.
yeah, good example. And that really started, I think, as a tourism marketing effort to get people over to the beach at different times of the year.
Yep.
And they've got a couple of hot shops,
So there's
right.
a tourism.
And one's on a brownfield site that was cleaned up. And yeah, there's some interesting backstories to that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep moving here. Thank you for the GIS stuff. That looked really great. We have talked about the Wayne Taysom panels, and we have talked about the improvements to the first floor of the Civic Center for the customer service area. So we're up to other updates. And my first update is that both Michael Hernandez and Kelly James have resigned from Spac. They're both busy. That's good because they're both freelance creatives. And so it means they're making money. But we will need some recruiting for new members. And then my term ended, but I've agreed to stay on until I am replaced. So there are 3 spots that will need to be filled. And
Mine ends soon too. in December. I mean, 6 months, but
So this is a good time to be thinking across the city about people who would bring some new perspectives, some diverse backgrounds, and who have experience in realms that are connected to public art. So our code specifies that people be artists, be architects, be landscape architects, be arts educators, be connected to a community foundation. But I would just ask all of you to be purposeful in some thinking about people who might be good candidates. The city has an online application process. It's simple, it's easy to access through the city's website. And, I know that I would be, if there are folks who you think might be interested, I'd be happy to talk to anybody about, why this is fun and interesting. We've heard this morning that there are some, when you think about what is on the horizon, we've got a seismic upgrade for the Civic Center. We've got some smaller projects. We've got the possibility of more street art happening. A lot of the administrative side of the program is in good hands. We just saw the new mapping. The city's going to have a new website. It seems like we don't have a lot of loose ends that are out of control. So that is my update. What about other updates that people want to report on?
So a question, Chris, what are the, from Michael and Kelly? What were the slots? What were the designated, whether it was architect or artists or, what are the available positions for the commission?
I don't have that roster up in front of me.
I have it.
Do you have
Go
it,
ahead,
Keith?
So Kelly James was a at-large member, and
Okay.
Michael Hernandez filled the position for museum curation, art restoration, or art appraisal.
And I think that's the slot that you have presently, Paula, as well. Yeah. Sorry, I was muted. Chris, for your position, that's the one with community foundation, real estate, or landscape architecture. So they're all pretty darn specific categories.
Well, we have there's a talent bank in there are people in our community. I think for me, it would be good to find someone who might be from a farther flung part of the city. I know Spencer, Paula, and I all live in South Salem. Susan lives in the Grant neighborhood. Zach lives in the Corchemecata Historic District. Looking for someone in North Salem, maybe looking for someone in West Salem. Eileen Cotter-Howell, former member, was from West Salem. Michael brought very good experience as a freelance designer in industry for a long time. He was also a gallery owner. I just think if everybody would go through their mental and, colleague Rolodex and think about people in Salem who might be interesting, and not to steal from other boards and commissions. There's some interesting people on the Landmarks Commission right now who I saw in action on the Echo Earth Ball hearing. So Michael emailed me over the weekend, and Kelly just resigned yesterday. So I will give it some, if we could all give it some thought, it would be great. What about other updates? I'll do another quick one. If you have not seen April Waters' exhibition at the Halley Ford Museum, her paintings from Antarctica, they're quite impressive, and there's some interesting ephemera up in the study gallery upstairs. Well worth a visit. She's also one of the artists who was photographed for the show at the convention center. So it's kind of an interesting connection there. Anything else to share? Well,
I'll
like
just
finish.
follow up if I can real quick. So we have the map online that we shared today, and I think we'll be looking for ways to promote that. But there was some interest discussed today about joining in and with the on-site kind of tours of the artwork here on campus. I think that would be awesome if folks are willing to be on camera and talk about the pieces. Paul, I was thinking about you with the birds potentially. That would just be incredible if folks are willing, and that's something that we could certainly add to, what we, that would be a focal point for the upcoming celebration, but it's something that we could add to our website as well, little quick videos and things. It might be an option that we could add to our story map. I don't know that for sure, but it's exciting to hear that folks are willing to maybe kind of help out with that. So just wanted to make sure that was shared.
I do think an outdoor walk, it wouldn't have to be that long, of the stopping at the outdoor sculptures could be one tour. An indoor greatest hits of the library would be another good one.
Yeah.
They're with the birds, the Betty LeDuc, the big relief, some of the sort of mid-century masters, within that portable works collection. I think that would be easily done. I think the city council chambers, just for the significance as, where our city is governed. There are some important pieces there. And then looking at the city manager and mayor's office suite with the carved doors. And yeah, I think that's very doable. Very, very doable. I have not been getting a lot of response to inquiries to CC Media, but I do think, particularly having Paula talk about the resighting of the birds and getting all that figured out, that's kind of an interesting story. And then just the donation of trees of life and why that matters now. And looking back at some of the historic images we have of the Peace Plaza sculpture, especially showing it functioning, like it's very attractive.
I've got a question. I know that the state buildings don't technically go with the Salem Public Art Collection, but is there any way that this GIS can include those?
That would be a great conversation to have with Eleanor Sandys at the Oregon Arts Commission. She's very good. I think she's out of the office this week, but I tried to reach her yesterday. But that to me would be a really great regional travel project. I mean, this is the capital city.
Yeah.
And between Willamette University, the state of Oregon, which now the state capital is a state park, and then the city sculptures, it would be a great visitor guide, because you could start at Willamette, snake through and around the Oregon Capitol, get on the path that goes past the hospital, get over by Pringle, you'll come up to the Good Sense sculpture, then the Setzel, then the Convention Center, then that would be a great project.
Yeah.
So, and I think when you bundle all of that, you really have something to be proud. You have some critical mass of content. So, I mean, I do think when you think about like what's a good project to collaborate on in Salem, that would be really a good one, Spencer.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm just looking at this and there's some pieces I've never seen before, and I can only imagine with the state collection and Willamette, there's probably some in locations that you just don't know about.
Right. I know that. Right.
I wonder if Salem would be interested in partnering in something like that, because it really is a draw for Salem.
Travel Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but I know Stacy Nally with the Capitol would probably be all over it.
I
She's
was going to
very
say,
collaborative.
I think it was Eleanor Sandys who reached out to me, and it's been a couple years now, but had expressed an interest in kind of consolidating an online presence for the artwork. So it would be incredible to follow up if we could, for sure.
Yes, and she now has a higher level position with the Oregon Arts Commission. Her boss left to go work for a foundation, so she was promoted. So she's very good. I think she has an archiving background in art archiving. So she's all about organizing things. Well, okay, we should continue the conversation. Is there any other business that we should take up today? Then hearing none, I am going to suggest that we adjourn our meeting at 11:01 a.m. unless there is objection. All right, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Aye.